Ladies and gentlemen, we are back from our coffee break and a leg stretch, and I think we are connected. Thank you, Europe and worldwide, for all of you who are following us. This is a fantastic opportunity. You see again the two of us here on stage kind of like step in, but actually what we're doing is we're just supporting our two colleagues who are today in Germany blocked and in Finland blocked. So Asta Partanen and Erkki Verkasalo, who are the moderators and who have prepared the session. Hello, you two. And you see on screen Uroš Kantar and Kai Merivuri, also in Slovenia and in Finland. And on stage we have two other people who are joining us, Erkigis from architecture, and we have Oskar Skarate from Baskigur. I would like first, before we introduce our panelists, leave the floor to Asta and Erkki, and Andrea and I here to support you, and we will pick them, as we say in German, that they give us good answers. Asta, the floor is yours. Your mic.
Loud enough?
Good. Good.
Is good enough?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Asta Partanen. I come from Nova Institute, which is situated around by Cologne, in a private research institute, where we look at the renewable carbon as solutions to replace fossil resources in chemical industry, in polymer industry, and also in woodworking industry, of course. And my role as a circus person is to look at these success factors, and as these good cases, as Oriana also said, we need some success stories. And I hope we can also find today some ideas about these success stories, because the topic of today is the trust, and the circular economy means that you are not alone. You are here together with others in a circle, and that means for that we need, of course, trust. And the circularity means you need really a new mindset. Like also Dimitri said, hiring a product instead of having it yourself, that is really a new mindset. So let's think about today about the trust and how this is going to work in the woodworking industry. And first, my idea was to give the word to Erkki, who has been researching as a professor in Finland the European situation of the woodworking industry, and about the possibility how the trust is working in practicalities of this industry. So Erkki, how is this, your research, how did it go and what are the results?
Thank you, Asta, for the turn. I am working as a research professor in Natural Resources Institute of Finland in the most eastern location of the European Union, just 70 kilometers from the Russian border. So looking to the west is the only way from our direction. That means that we are going to speak about trust in quite many levels. Of course, like Mr. Dupuy stated before, if we want to create changes, we have to create also trust among all stakeholders that are involved in the process. So that means that we have to have a common understanding about certain modes and principles of the implementation, and on the other hand, also to try to really develop means of a long-term practical collaboration forms in the whole value chain. So I would say that some practical examples that could be derived from the WoodCircus Project's fact-finding process were very many. They were different in different parts of Europe, but many of them truly can be a basis for good practices that can be with certain modifications implemented in different parts of Europe. For example, let's talk about industrial ecosystems, which might mean industry parks or collaboration of production or platforms, or they might mean something between or combination of integration and decentralization as regards raw material supplies, production, marketing, services and utilization. That may be also common lobbying and impacting for public decision bodies into things that are important for the sector. A second good way is to establish common fora and networks impacting to these societal decisions and also regulation bodies. And thirdly, the triple helix modes which combine views of commerce, research and development and public decision making are fruitful if they have been implemented in, say, a common way of understanding. I would say that the regional and subsectoral differences here are something that we should appreciate because they, as if they are approached in a fruitful way, they enhance adopting different parts and practices to biocircularity, and they may also be a good basis for making a good overall perspective for the sector.
Perfect.
So this as the first beginning, but now we would like to hear also some key opinions first, some openings for this discussion from the panel members, and because you for sure have your own points. Only yes. 2 to 3 per one participant, please.
Yes, and we will introduce the panelists today, and let me start with our dear colleague Elisa Pasolini, who is joining in also from Italy. It sounds we have a very strong Italy this year, winning a lot of different championships, but also participating strongly in WoodCircus. Elisa works at Rilegno in Italy, and she's a partner also within the WoodCircus, and they're a consortium of experts with outstanding performance in collecting, sorting, and working with recycling, and they're managing platforms for those. So, Lisa, welcome to the panel, and I'll leave it to Andrea to present the next one.
Well, I will go here to Oscar Azcarate from Spain, and he's agricultural engineer that I believe will be giving us a broad perspective when it comes to the whole wood value chain.
And I will introduce Kai Merivuori from Finland. So we have an ultrasonic flight back up again. Kai has an outstanding long track record in the woodworking industry, specifically in sawmill industries, managing all different types of projects from industrial one also to public. And he's a key actor also working in a multi-factor and multicultural, but also multi-actor network, so to say, and knows what that means. So Kai, welcome to the panel.
And now, before Andreas gets in front of me, I will go to Slovenia, to Uroš Gantar. So it's my great pleasure to welcome him. He is a civil engineer and also R&D project manager at MSORA company, a window producer in Slovenia that I personally had the honor to work on the topic of circularity from 2013 or something on with the so welcome, and I'm sure that a lot of projects that you have done in these past years on the circularity will be today mentioned.
And last but not least, one of our panelists is real European, French-Swedish working Eric Hughes, who has a own architecture office in Paris, but also in Sweden. Welcome to the panel, and who has a long track record, we can say, in architecture using wood, and specifically in the circular economy idea and concept. We welcome all of the panelists, and maybe we start with Eric's first to reply to the introduction of Erki. What is your opinion?
It's a big question. I think, it's fantastic to be here and to discuss this quite complex matters with so many specialists. I think the right word is trust. We all have to trust in this new economy. But I think those that really need to trust are those who are at the end putting the money. And those are the financial and the investors and the developers. And I think you're focusing a lot on the industry, which is a very good thing to do. But I think you need to also clarify those ideas to the final investors in a way that is simple to understand and very simple to communicate. Because that's where the trust comes in. When we propose a solution to an investor, we need to have clear facts of what's the return. And I think it was spoken about before in this conference about how to explain this new economy to the general public also. Why should I buy an apartment which has a longer life term or even can be reused in a different way? What do I have to gain? I think the public is aware of the things have to change, but you also need to have this very simple label, which A, B, C, D. Where is my apartment in the circular economy, such as we have on the, for example, for the energy. I think that's my first answer to the question. I don't know.
Thank you. And Elisa, are you with us? Because we can't see you on the screen right now, but Elisa, Rilenio is a very well-performing company, consortia. How do you see this aspect of trust? Your microphone is muted.
Yes, sorry. Hello.
Can you turn on your camera? Oh. Please.
One moment, please.
We hear you very well. Super, perfect.
Okay. For us, for Rilenio, sharing ideas and objectives helps to improve cooperation and trust, broadening knowledge so that all stakeholders are aware of the issue and the goal to be achieved through cooperation. Using creativity to use cultural and social differences as problem solving.
Thank you. That's very good.
Earlier was already mentioned the society, that this is important. And I would say, are we willing to have products out of old timber, the timber that was in use for many years? And I know of a project that is led by MSORA, so I will encourage Uros to share with us. So are they families that would like to have an old wood from old building used in their new windows?
Yes, hello. Thank you for those warm welcoming words from Asta, Erki, and also Andrea. As you already mentioned, we in MSORA produce primarily wooden windows, but in last, let's say, 7 to 10 years, we also specialized in wooden windows from recovered wood. And what is recovered wood? It's basically wood that was already used in some other products, on some other kind of products. In our recent project, Wolf, we are not just trying to make a great quality window from the recovered wood, we are also making efforts to introduce it to the public, to the society. It's not just are you able to produce something from an old wood, or let's say from a waste. It also matters, are you able to introduce it properly? Will the people, will we like it? So this is what we are trying to do, to present some good points, good measures, all the research and development that's been done in this area. And of course, we will make progress. We are making little steps, but we are changing perception. And when we, let's say, when we convince one person, it sure is that others will follow. And for it to succeed, many has to follow.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Maybe now I would go to Oscar. And Oscar, could you have such a rich kind of experience in working with different associations and also with the certification. Do you see a challenge when it comes to using recovered wood and, of course, certification for sustainably managed forests?
It's difficult. It's difficult because we are now in a market that every product is sustainable. As Giovanni told us before, we have more than 100 eco-labels, marks and certifications, and the customer and the people and the prescribers, architects, engineers, doesn't know what product is more sustainable from the other. And we always we are working in environment declaration certifications, different footprints. But it's not so easy because for me the important part is that we have to make this training the prescribers, the architects, to they have to make the difference between these products. And it's not so easy because, you know, I don't know in other countries, but we are coming from the Basque Country, and the timber construction, the wood construction, it's traditional, but it's not so competitive as other materials, and we have to make this training to know how to make this difference. It's not so easy. Sorry.
Thank you, Oscar. That leaves me to directly connect with Kai, because Finnish and Basque language have the same roots and genetically you're very close. So Kai, how do you see that from your perspective and from the Finnish point of view? How can you create trust in the way that you can become more competitive, become much more into the leaving the linear economy model to become a circular actor and to be quite strong?
Yes, thanks. Thanks. First of all, I would like to thank the WoodCircus team for your excellent work. I think the whole project is very valuable for our industry. As you know, the world is going through major changes, and a lot of new players are entering our wood product value chains, and we get a lot of new ideas, but also a lot of new criticism. And trust is something what is definitely needed in the future, probably more than ever. I think if we look at trust as such, I think Erkki touched the definition of trust, but the building blocks could be classified as consistency, compassion, communication, and competency. And I think consistency is one of the key issues what we need in the middle of all changes. Sustainability is an issue which is raising its importance very fast. And we need consistent, I wouldn't say rules, but ways of behavior in this industry. And the industry also needs consistency in the political decision making in order to develop our business further. I think we are in a very specific situation. Uros, thanks very much for your presentation. Recovered wood combined with virgin fiber. That's the name of our industry. And I think not many businesses have such an opportunity to combine both virgin materials and recycled materials. And I think we are only at the starting point of recycling wood in the way that we can do in the future. I also think that one of the key issues why trust is so important is that we need new young people in this business. And unless we are able to make the young people trust in us, we are not able to attract them to join us. So in a way, I see trust as a key element in developing a true learning economy. I think learning is one of the key issues what we are also involved in deeper and deeper. I think we all are struggling in finding new fine people in this business. I think this is what I would like to say at this stage. Thank you.
Kiitos.
Okay, thank you. Maybe to go to Eric and asking as an architect, how do you feel about promoting design for this assembly? So creating a wonderful building and say to the user, to the customer, it's going to be there only for 20 years, then we will disassemble it.
I think flexibility and evolution in building is something that many customers are looking for. The possibility to transform a building on the long term. We're actually working on the Olympic Village right now, and we designed one building which will be housing the athletes during the Olympics, then become an office, and then later become a regular housing building. And I think that's something also investors are looking for, buildings that can be transformed, maybe not totally dismantled, but more probably reassembled in different ways, a bit like Japanese traditional wood construction. You have a building which is 1,000 years old, but no part is really 1,000 years old. They have been replaced during times and recycled or reused in different projects. So I think this is something which a lot of developers and investors are looking for, and even persons that invest in a new apartment, they want it to be transformable. And wood is very interesting for that reason, because you can cut it yourself, you can do things by yourself. So it's also a way that you can be part of the transforming of your environment in a different way than if you use more solid things or more like concrete, which is a bit more complex to transform by yourself.
Thank you. So, Asta, maybe you want to give a question that we won't completely take over here. Oh?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, so woodworking industries are ready for growth. Woodworking industry has the possibility to use a lot of material, fibers, recycling material, and in this case, you use a lot of hybrid materials, from virgin up to side stream materials and post-consumer materials. So there is, of course, in this a big transformation of these materials, and this circularity, of course, needs a lot of new cooperation partners and a lot of trust to make this transformation into new kind of composites and new kind of materials from reused side streams or from post-consumer materials. So I would like to know from our panelists how they see in their sectors this transformation to happen, and if they can give us some nice samples about that.
Let's start with Elisa, because I think it should also be again in the heart and the core business of Rilenio.
Elisa, I think you're...
I'm here.
Yeah. Okay.
Rilenio is the national consortium for the collection, recovery, and the recycling of wooden packaging. For the wood packaging supply chain, identify new sectors for the development of products made with recycled wood waste, or increases the number of sectors where recycled wood-based panels are used. European Union aims at the circularity of packaging that when recycled must return to become packaging. Now.
Thank you. Shall we go further to Uroš and ask you, how do you see that?
Yes, thank you. So, in our case, for the circular economy to thrive, we are in the middle of the whole chain. We are the producers of wooden windows. After us, let's say there are our customers, clients, and before us, there are sawmills, there are suppliers of virgin materials, but there are not yet suppliers of recovered wood material. So, okay, what we must do? We must offer a good product. Okay, so we use a combination. Currently, what we see will work best is we use a combination of recovered wood, like 75 to 80%, and one lamella, 20% of virgin wood. Why virgin wood? We must use additional virgin wood to have sufficient weathering protection of window. But it's different for every different kind of companies and circular economy system. So, okay, we have a good product, but currently everything is on us. To make a window scantling from recovered wood, we must get recovered wood in the shape of old timber or old beams. We have to cut it, again glue it, mill it, then shape it, and then make a window out of it. So, in our case, that the circular economy would work, we need at least some partners in the supply chain before us. When we have this, our product will become more price competitive, because currently the prices are 10%, let's say 10% higher for the recovered wood windows, which is of course not a problem for some of our customers, like let's say few percent of our customers, but it is a problem for 95% of customers. So when we have this chain, okay, when we have this chain, the product, which is fine and good quality, will become more interesting in the eyes of the white public. And when it became more popular in the eyes of the white public, we go again to the companies in the start of the supply chain, and they'll see, okay, we have buyers. So for our business to thrive, it's now time. And when we have this company in the start of the supply chain, another one follows, and another one follows, and another one follows. Okay, that was not in the shape of a circle, but in the end, we should get a full circle, which currently is not yet complete.
Yes, we can nicely see that new businesses are created by this circular economy. So who will be the next showing the nice circles in their sector? Maybe Kai?
Yes, thank you. I think in the combination of circular and bioeconomy, we also have to pay attention on the differences between our societies and countries. We have some countries with small populations and quite big forest resources like Finland. And on the other hand, we have relatively big countries with lesser forest resources. And I believe one of the key issues is that we understand each other's possibilities and needs. In the Nordic countries, wood is being quite efficiently used in big scale, meaning we use all sizes of wood, all ages of wood, and produce pulp, paper, carton board, different new kind of products like textiles. You know that business is relatively small at the moment, but it is coming. A lot of research work is being put there. We produce biofuels, again in relatively small scale so far, and of course we have a range of mechanical wood products, sawn timber, plywood, and in smaller scale particle board and fiber board. But we also have excess volumes of residues in the country. We are located in the north where it is cold, and we have always used wood as a renewable material. And as we earlier heard, the same material is valuable raw material for wood-based panel industries in Central Europe. We have already decided to get rid of or become carbon neutral in Finland by 2035, which is not too far away, and we definitely need also biofuels in order to fill up the gap. And by doing that, we are able to replace fossil fuels in heating. And that's something we still need to burn wood. New technologies don't exist yet, and we don't have any other uses for the residues. So I would say that the cycle is different in the Nordic countries than what it is in the south. And neither, I wouldn't say that any of these cycles are any more valuable than the other one. We just need to take into consideration the differences in the circumstances. We have I think, very traditional woodworking company called Koskisen, where they have plywood industries, they have a sawmill, they produce particle board and veneers, thin veneers, and I think that's they also produce electricity, and they are a good example of how can one company utilize different products coming from the forests efficiently and turn them into products which, apart from electricity, are very long cycle products. So even though the company is, I would say, traditional, in today's world, it is extremely modern if we look at the material flow in the company.
Maybe if
Thank you.
if I may, one thing that I believe we need to touch when talking about trust is the role of digitalization in the value chains and in the circular economy. And maybe, Oskar, you could be making your opinion of how blockchain and similar digitalization tools or the tools that could be used to be building the trust in the value chain.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think these are the two elements that will transform our sector, the digitalization and the bioeconomy, circular bioeconomy. The reality is that it's not so easy because, but we are working on this, and I think we have a chance. And why I say that it's not easy? There in the Basque Country, I think we have a stake. The administration has a stake, very interesting and very important in the circular economy. but they are thinking in plastic, aluminium. They don't see yet the bioeconomy part. And other thing that we see is that for this digitalization, circular economy, and we need to do the things different. And the administration inertia is so slow, so slow. We have been doing last weeks some workshops with them, and they ask us construction guides, digitalization, because for them it will be easier. But it's not so easy because, I don't know in other countries, in Spain and in the local part, in the Basque Country, the construction, we are still making this construction as 30, 40 years ago, the same. And you know, when you have to do this kind of construction, you have to think everything different. You have to, the way to design, to make the construction is totally different. But I think we have a chance because with BIM and with kinds of tools, I think that the wood construction, the metal construction, will be able to show the advantage, the advance that has the material. Not only the sustainability part, but this part of advanced construction.
Eric, how do you see that?
I agree, but I think it's not that complex. There are already a couple of startups that provide services where you can, through digitalization, identify, for example, products that are stored somewhere that you can reuse. I don't want to mention any names, I don't think it's the place, but so we're already doing that on several of our buildings where we can check are the doors that correspond to our needs, for example. This has, of course, to be implemented and augmented but I think Europe has a good chance to be like a platform, a larger platform for these reusable materials, because the norms are quite identical on different countries in terms of fire and etc. So I think there are a lot of progress being done right now on this aspect of digitization and use of existing materials.
Thank you very much. Erki, it's up to you to ask what would you like to ask the panelists for the final round before closing this. Do you have something very special in mind?
Thank you. Actually, quite many issues, but let's come back a little bit to the efficiency and its relations to the environmental issues. And it has been clearly stated in this session that the value chain efficiency is as important or even more important than just talking about material and energy efficiency, as some parts of this problematic issue, and it's very much related to the trust among the value chains, and also how to convince the decision makers and consumers about the important role in this respect of this sector. So maybe some of you could comment about these things, and what is your approach to the issue of how these things as regards production and value chain efficiency, even extending to carbon footprint and carbon handprint especially, that should be better communicated, and how can we create, say, a good message over this issue? Please.
Yes, I think, when you're in a circular situation or in a circular economy, you're not only a consumer, but you're also a producer in a way. You're not at one end of the chain. So I think that's the change of mentality, that you, in fact, I will produce maybe a product for somebody to recycle this product later. So I need to think about how does he need to have this product in a later stage. So I'm not only designing out of the needs of the immediate consumer, which is maybe building the building or buying the apartment, but I'm also designing for next step when you need to reuse this window. So I think it's a whole set of new mental paradigm that you need to establish.
Oscar?
Yeah, I would like to explain that we have seen in different workshops and that we always, in our market, always mistake the energy efficiency and the carbon footprint. For example, there are a lot of standards, construction standards, for example, passive, that we have seen that too many companies that are not so sustainable, they dress as passive and they are selling, they are sustainable. Okay, maybe what I'm saying it's obvious, but we see that when people want to have a house, if it's passive, it's okay, it's sustainable. Maybe you will not spend so much money, but maybe if your windows are made by aluminum and they are dressing their commercial part as very sustainable. That's the way I return to the first point that I think we must do more training to the prescribers, to the architects, to the, I don't know, maybe it's this not happen in Finland, but in the Basque Country and in Spain happens. And this trend has to be from the public part, for the private part. And we know we are sustainable, we are circular. But what happens is that we have made an effort, very, very hard effort, to have different certifications, environment product declarations of our companies, but they have to sell these kinds of products with these certifications in other countries because, and they are working with local booth, but this is no sense. If you have to go to the United Kingdom to sell your environment declaration product, it's no sense. I think we have to do train, and maybe we will be better in very soon place.
Thank you very much. Kai, do you have a last comment on that?
Yes, thanks. I think what I would like to say is I would like to call the industry to build trust within our community. It is a question of communication, as I said at the beginning, and consistency. I think these two are the key elements. We should get familiar with the value chains of each other's subsectors. We should focus on education, research and development, and definitely we should put more effort on marketing. We are still a fragmented team, and I think our business is actually, it's like a treasure chest, and we have only opened the cover slightly. So by common cooperation, we have a lot to win. And it is not a question whether it's a question of window making or wood-based panel making or sawmilling. By learning to know each other better, that's, I think, the core in building trust. Thank you.
Uros?
I believe most of all we need collaboration. On one hand, we have production of some products. On the other hand, we have buyers of the products. Let's say we have another hand, the third hand. Okay, on the third hand, we have all the partners and all the knowledge that's behind. In our case, what worked for us was collaboration. With research and knowledge institutions, and by starting with that, we got innovative ways of tackling this problem. And after we started walking these little steps, when we reached the final product, our job was to showcase this good practice into society. So, okay, we need production, we need knowledge, we need good practices, and in the end, we need buyers or money behind it. Only buyers will push the circular economy. If nobody buys the things, the products that we develop and produce, we don't have a push, we don't have a run.
And this is a great entry to the final one. Elisa, from your perspective, coming from economics.
We believe that the concept of circular economy and sustainability can be spread through culture and the arts, including didactics and music to get the message across to an audience of young and very young people. The younger generation represents an indispensable resource for meeting the crucial challenges of sustainable development and the fight against climate change, which have become increasingly urgent. And the support of digital technology can improve relationships and work organization, enabling the achievement of common goals.
Thank you very much. I think we came to the end. Thank you everyone for really nice discussions and thoughts.
And I have the pleasure now to introduce you the two and only acrobats of WoodCircus, Mr. Mike Bernard from InnoRenew in Slovenia and Mr. Javier Garcia Yaca from Tecnalia in Spain. And they will present to you and discuss what is, so to say, the philosophy and what the white paper for the woodworking industry 2040 will look like. So Mike and Javier, please come on stage. The floor is yours.
So thank you so much. I will say thank you so much for the organization for inviting me, but I am part of, we are both part of the organization, so maybe that's not the way of starting. So maybe, Mac, we should introduce ourselves as so please.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for the introduction, Andreas. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the Deputy Director of the InnoRenew COE, a research center in Slovenia, where our focus is really on using wood in construction to create sustainable and healthy buildings. I also teach at the University of Primorska, where I teach in master's and PhD programs on sustainability and data science and construction. My role in this project has largely been to distill the hard work of everyone else in the project into something that we can turn into policy recommendations, and that's still a work in progress and something that we're hoping for input today from you. We're taking a lot of notes on the conversation today and how we might translate that into policy recommendations based on the findings of the project as well.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So my name is Javier Garcia Jaca. I work for Tecnalia as a project director. My main role is basically focused on directing projects of large-scale projects focused on forest bioeconomy and nature-based materials that mainly focus for the construction sector. So once we have introduced ourselves, maybe we would like to start. I mean, just for your knowledge, that as Andreas has said, WoodCircus has posed several maxims to help and to guide the policy recommendations that it will make. So, Mike, could you tell us a little bit about which has been the motivation for us to do that and to propose those maxims?
Yeah, sure. So our approach to the policy work thus far has been to do quite some introspection and research and interviews with the industry, and to apply the knowledge from our various institutes and industry partners that we have. And we've sort of distilled that into, at this point, 10 sort of key points that we see are representative of the industry, of the sector. And our thinking now is that we're going to take these maxims, refine them, polish them, and then attach some policy recommendations to help increase the role of the wood industry as represented by these maxims in the circular bioeconomy. So we have these different maxims that touch on different topics. At some points, we might be making recommendations based on those maxims towards industry, and we might also be making recommendations based on those maxims towards policy as well, where we might attach a specific policy recommendation to increase the circularity and the role of the forest sector, the wood industries in particular, in the circular bioeconomy.
Okay, so maybe we can start with some of them.
Yeah, do you want to start with the first one?
Okay, yes. One thing before starting with the maxims, we would like to organize this in a little bit different way of the previous. So all the people in the audience are welcome if they want to interrupt us and make their comments, their suggestions, or whatever they want. So we will have some free mix there, so we will manage to give voice to you. So do not hesitate to raise your hands and to ask as many questions as you wanted. So I will start with the first one. The first one is that the good working industries are a role model in the circular economy. In the sense is that the best practice in industry, we have been discussed a little bit before about this best practice, are really transferable to other regions. And I would like to ask you, Mike, about this part, about the part of the regions. So, exactly how do you see that industries can transfer the best practice to other regions? And particularly in the case of something that I think that at European level it's quite innovative, that is to do this transference through the border regions that have of different countries, but that have a common border.
Yeah, I think actually that question of transferability is very important for us. And in the project, we've been looking at these sort of macro regions, dividing Europe into these 4 different sections. But if we look at a sort of closer region, these border regions, I think there's some really good examples here. In particular, some things that we even spoke about today. The pallet industry came up earlier as a good example, where there's a lot of reuse and repair of the pallets that are going on, and that is something that I think is already transferred quite well, because pallets, they ship from one place to another, they get repaired, they might ship back, and there's a big interest in using those and reusing them as many times as possible. And so I think that process of necessity and the simplicity of just repairing rather than buying new ones is a good way. And then we also can look at maybe a more direct sort of transfer where currently in Italy, we've heard that there's a quite good collection of packaging materials that can be turned into other products. And Slovenia is a neighboring country, so is France, so is Switzerland, so is Austria. And why wouldn't that network just extend across the border and start collecting material from other countries? Or maybe some of the end materials could end up in those other countries as well, just growing that network. So again, that sort of almost organic growth just by expansion could be a way to transfer that practice as well.
Okay, great.
And then I think the next one, this is where we see that really sustainability and green growth are core to the sector. This is something that we've heard several times today as well. Ernest Schillinger earlier was talking about wanting access to more forests and maintaining some longevity there and having continued access to the forests. But my question for you is, what do you think about the macro regions? So we looked at this in different macro regions, and we know the forests are different in different places and the industry is different, but how might this view of sustainability and green growth vary between the different regions?
Yes, I think that today we have seen a really clear different approaches between different regions. That's obvious, and it has been obvious for a long time. But this is why we are Europe. I mean, the final objectives should be to learn one from each other, in the sense that there are not good response because the markets are always different. The sector is not exactly the same. We have seen quite difference between North, South, West, and East, and Central Europe. But I think that we should these differences between regions. I think that we should tackle it as a way of inspiration, I would say, but not to copy paste, the same thing, but try to focus on how we can learn for those people and try to adapt the solution to our developments or to our industries or whatever. So that's my.
Okay, I've got a little bit of a follow-up there for you as well. We heard a lot of different views about how the wood products are used, how forest materials are used, and that sort of touches on this question of unity in the sense of our definition of sustainability and what we see as sustainability. And how would you prioritize coming to some agreement on what we mean by sustainability in the sector versus just trying to take as many strides forward as we can, and then we will sort of all link up after we do our own thing?
Yeah, I think that even today we have seen different approaches to this to tackle this this challenge that is to recycle to obtain sustainability in the sector. So I really believe in this learning by doing, in the sense that we should not stop at do not nothing until we have a unique voice at the sector. Of course, we need some kind of unity, but I think that we should go step by step, but in a parallel way. I mean, trying to find unity at the same time, trying to define different concepts of how in practice is how we measure sustainability in our sector. And there is not problem if we discuss between ourselves. I mean, how to tackle it. So I will not stop the whole thing just before obtaining unity, because we will have always differences. We have seen it between different types of manufacture, north, south, west. Okay, so I will not, for sure, I will not stop. So okay, maybe we can go if there are no questions for the audience or intervention. No, okay. So if you allow me, I will go to the third one. That is. The woodworking industries have a long tradition and can be revitalized to be a stronger contribution to the circular economy and the rural development through education, training, and lifelong learning. I would like to focus in this part, particularly in part of education. So my question to you, Mike, is how can education support and promote the circular economy and the rural development? Both of them.
Not giving me easy questions, okay. Well, this is another thing that came up several times today, is this question of education and training. We heard it from several speakers, and that education was directed sort of at a lot of different people that make up the users of wood in the circular economy. So there are people that are coming to work for, say, panel manufacturers that need training, as Chris mentioned earlier, that this is something that there can be on-site training for, but you need highly skilled people to come to the sector to get started. And that on-site training, maybe that should be a little bit more than just the technical aspects, but should share some of the cultural aspects of the circular economy as well, in order to sort of embed that in the sector's culture a little bit more deeply. we also heard some recommendations from Oscar about helping architects and the people who are specifying materials to understand a little bit more about what the sustainability of wood can really be, and looking at the different tools that we have for that. And so raising awareness and teaching people about those various tools like EPDs could be something that's quite helpful. And I think there's a lot of other options here in education as well. One of the things that I've noticed in teaching is that we don't have very many students coming to our program. So getting more students involved in our program is a matter of recruitment, is a matter of making the programs and the degrees sound maybe a little bit sexier in a way. And I'm not exactly sure how to do that. Is something that we've been working on ourselves. But I think as people begin to see the circular economy and sustainability as more interesting issues, they will gravitate to some of these programs where those are the things that we teach. And you know, even though we're at sort of the master's level in the teaching that I do, that can be embedded in undergraduate degrees and in primary education as well, teaching young students, young pupils about sustainability and circularity, and teaching that not only as a technical aspect, but sort of embedding it as a cultural value as well.
Okay. Okay, great. And the rural development, can you think that education can also support the rural development somehow, or?
Yeah, I certainly think so. So one of the issues that we see with rural, the lack of rural development is as people are leaving rural areas to go towards urban environments, they aren't coming back because there aren't as many jobs there. So if we can have more people interested in the jobs that are already very connected to rural areas, you might see some of those students returning to rural areas and sort of revitalizing the economies and the communities there by bringing those jobs and therefore the people and the families back to the rural environment as well.
So from this point of view, maybe this pandemic has pushed somehow in this direction.
Yeah, it certainly could have, as people are sort of forced to be in their own local area, maybe in some cases restricted from moving outside of their municipality. They're looking for more local jobs rather than looking to go to school somewhere else, and or maybe they're coming back home to a more safe and secure place, and they can bring some of the skills that they're learning from the urban universities and environments back to the rural economies and help bring some of that innovation and new cultural interest into the circular economy in those regions.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Mike. Now it's the next question. I think that is the fourth.
Yeah, so I hope I've got my numbers correctly here. But the woodworking industry is already highly efficient. How can we leverage that efficiency to go more towards circularity?
Yes, thanks for the question. The thing is that there are several things that has been said before, and I must say that I do not fully agree with them. Sorry to say. That's, for example, the use of the word residues when we discuss about these things in this sector. From my point of view, there are not residues. I mean, there are some products, yes, because at the European level, residues, it's something that somehow, I mean, it's not a product by itself, but in this sector, the residues are zero. I mean, so in this case, every single part from the tree can be transferred in a product, and it is true that almost 100% of the material, the wood that enters in the sawmill, can be used. That's for sure. But the research here, what we can do, is that we can develop materials that have a higher added value. So from the same cubic meter of wood that enters typically or in the sawmill or that is extracted from the forest, I think that we have the challenge to provide more added value to every single, I will say, fiber. You allow me to say that is content there. So in this sense, there is a lot of room for new developments and for working there. New type of materials and new. For example, there is something that we should consider as well. That is to develop hybrid materials. We have mentioned it different times, but probably if we establish this, I will say, this war between different types of materials, everybody will lose. So probably we should more focus on trying to combine different materials to have, a common solution. Like, imagine that a structure made partially of wood, partially on a street or different things. So in this sense, there is plenty room there, not only for cooperation between materials, but also for development from the, I will say, from the researchers or from the research point of view. And this brings me to the next maxim that we have said, that the maxim basically says that wood as raw material replaces fossil-based resources, and woodworking sector can create nearly any product that fits within the bioeconomy. So how do you see it? Do you really believe that with wood-based materials and with wood-based products, we can replace all the fossil-based resources? We are close to that or far away?
We might be a little far away, but I think we're making progress in the right direction. So just as you were saying, we need to add value to every fiber. There are a lot of researchers and innovators that are working on doing just that, right? We both know that there are a lot of different organizations out there that are looking at new uses of wood. And here today in this place, buildings are really the focus, and in a way, a building uses wood in a very straightforward way very often as structural elements. We can see it, but there are a lot of other things that we can do. We have wood serving here as an acoustic barrier, which are sometimes made with plastic, and we can see that we can do that with wood as well. Wood is commonly used in a variety of different things, but as we look at different ways of using wood, and we take an approach that frankly the fossil industry has used quite well in breaking down components into their molecules and then recombining them in different ways, we can see different uses for wood as well. And we can see that in the way that people are working with things like lignin now to provide food-safe packaging, which is something that has traditionally fallen into the plastics area. We can work with different types of paperboard, and we can replace a lot of these products. So I think we can make a circular bioeconomy where wood can contribute to just about everything. There will be some research along the way, some innovations. There will be some technical difficulties that we need to address as well in manufacturing. And then we also have to convince people to use new and different products. And so we have some research challenges, some technical challenges in industry to overcome, and some societal issues when it comes to adopting new materials. But yes, I do think we can get there, even if it is a little bit down the road still.
It's a big challenge for all of us.
Yeah.
For us. Okay.
It's job security for you and I. Yeah. Is it my turn again?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have that using wood indoors is one of the best ways to. Am I on the wrong one?
No.
Okay, I'm on the right one. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So using wood indoors is something that can help bring nature to urban environments. It helps green the urban environment, and it can actually provide some well-being benefits to people that are in and using these buildings. How do you see the effect on society of bringing wood into the urban environment?
Yes, I think that from my point of view, this pandemic situation has put us has put society in the correct place. I mean, we have spent, I think that more than 3/4 of our life inside buildings, including sleeping. I mean, 3/4 of our lives. So it is really quite relevant. Not only the indoor air quality, but also to bring nature inside the buildings. Not only how the building is constructed, that of course we love good and it's really interesting, but also all the internal partitions, all the not only internal partitions, but also all the furniture. So in this sense, it has been proved to several times that people are surrounded by nature. It is a good way to I would say to cheer up. I mean, probably if there are some societies between ourselves, they will say something about that. But it is really quite relevant to feel, from my point of view, to feel nature around you. So you can, it can be as easy as to cheer up, something like that, because you can touch nature somehow. There is another, I would like to go to that it's, we have come many times to that, but we have also another maxim that is that good career opportunities are available in the good working industry. So my question for you, Mike, is what level of education will benefit most of these career opportunities? Are we talking about engineers only, or high school, or what type of high school? Not, but
Well, I think it's not just the engineers and the scientists and the innovators or even the designers, but this sort of addresses the point that there are very many people that can find careers in the sector, and especially now with this push towards the new European Bauhaus, where we're trying to connect the science to the creativity to the art. There's a whole new area of potential employees for these companies that can maintain that connection between these sort of technical industries and the cultural and artistic aspects of society. So those might be on sort of the higher education level, but I think, finishing high school, getting some sort of technical training, there are lots of opportunities there as well. And probably as the sector expands, that would be sort of the first area of growth in employment. And then I would expect to see some of the more technical, higher educated positions coming in as well. I suspect then that there will be a little bit of an ebb and a flow of who's going to benefit at any given time. But as we see an expansion here, there's plenty of work for engineers, there's plenty of work for architects, there's plenty of work for scientists. I think there's going to be new and interesting jobs coming for people that are more connected to culture and arts and society and communications. And then there's going to be plenty of jobs for the people with more technical skills and technical careers to work in this field as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And I think we're running a bit out of time here, so maybe we should wrap up. One thing I'll mention is there is a WoodCircus booth where you can hear our lovely voices, not just us, but other members of the WoodCircus Project, saying a little bit more about these maxims. We're just around the corner over there, and I hope you will stop and listen and give the maxims a read and give us some feedback as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you so much, both of you. That was excellent. And they're not only here on the Forum Bois Construction, you can also listen to them on social media, on LinkedIn. We have posted them also. I would like to ask Andrea to join in, and Oliver, please join in. Are we still having Anne with us in Finland? Anne, can you hear us? Can you see us?
Yes, I can hear you and I can see you.
Yes, and we see you. Lovely. Great. Okay. Thank you all very much. We're coming to the end of the WoodCircus first session opening from the Forum Bois Construction here in Paris. I think it was very rich. I would like to take the opportunity to thank everyone who participated actively as moderators and also as panelists. Also for all of you who are connected worldwide, what we have seen already, and thanks all a lot what we have also seen on social media. That is really quite convincing. I would like to leave first the floor probably to Anne, because she was not with us here physically, but mentally all your force was driving us, Anne, I can assure you. Please give us your first feedback, and then we make a short tour here from us for concluding. Anne, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. I could actually take three takeaways from these very good sessions and a very good discussion what we have had today. First of all, there won't be change without trust. So these two things goes together, and you have to have trust to have the change. The second point is that going to circularity and this circular transformation, it's a challenging thing for established companies, because they have their established operational models, their business models, and to change that's actually extremely time-consuming and also very difficult. So we need triggers, and we also need this game changer, and SMEs are very good ones. SMEs and startups and spin-off companies are very good triggers to have the change happening. However, these companies, they have limited resources to do the change together. So the cooperation between these established companies and the new ones is essential. And I think that this kind of ecosystemic type of way to work together to make this circular value chain instead of the linear value chain. Of course, we need the linears as well. I think that could be one solution to overcome these difficulties, what the established companies have, and on the other hand, what the new companies have. The third point, what is a takeaway from the discussions today, is that we have heard a lot of good practices in circularity from the companies and from the panelists present today. But what was actually evident is that there is not really one size fits to all solution. And we have to take into account the regional differences, the regional strengths, the regional opportunities, but also the regional weaknesses. But I think that we can find the solutions, even though that they are different, but they drive to the same goal for the sustainable future. And it's important that everybody wins. So I think that this is something what we have to take into account in the white paper as well. And maybe at last, but not least, we need the success stories. And actually, we heard already today that we have companies who have been able to have these success stories. So that was my takeaways as a short. So thanks.
Thank you very much, Anne. Andrea.
Well, I would like to say that I hope that now that we are going to go towards actions to decarbonize the building stock, that biogenic carbon will be properly taken into consideration, and that also we, as a wood society, if I name us like this, that we will play an active role in it.
Oliver, what is your opinion? Oliver is from InnovaWood in joining in, and we give our warmest greetings to our dear colleague, Dr. Uwe Kies, who's the Secretary General working with Oliver and who can't be with us here today. But Uwe, we know that our thoughts are with you and your thoughts are with us. So Oliver, what's your opinion for the conclusion?
Thank you very much.
I
think it was a very interesting discussion today, and InnovaWood is representing research and education institutions in the wood sector in Europe, so I will rather take the point of view of the education institutions, also because I worked 8 years in one in Switzerland. So what I think interesting here is that we have a system shift now from linear to circular. We know that. If you compare that to mobile phones, I would make fun of you in the beginning of the 90s because you were showing off with a mobile phone that no one needs, you know. But then it shifted in the first 10 years of the 2000, and it became the new normal, and now nobody is making fun of anybody else because he has no mobile phone. So there's a point where the shift really gets speeding up. And although we have a lot of progress already in the wood sector, we are still kind of in the 1990s to describe where we are in circular economy. And in the education sector, we're moving more and more to circular economy in general, and in the wood sector, it's just coming. So I did the project week 1 year ago on circular economy because there was no standard circular economy course in Bern University of Applied Sciences for wood. Now there is. Now they started a new master specialization on eco-design and so on. And these are popping up in the wood sector on the European level now. So this means also then when we need a mindset shift, it's hard to get a mindset shift when you're over 40. Yeah, you can make it.
I disagree.
You can make it. I am just 41, so I just speak. Okay. No, but this is a point. Now the young generation is getting into the new courses, circular economy, when they are 20. They get to form and shape their mindsets, and in 3 to 5 years they come out with a new mindset, and this will drive a lot again and boost a lot again, and then get us over the millennium and get to the new century of circular economy. So just wait a bit for the people coming out of the education system that are already trained in that.
Thank you very much. I think we learned a lot today. We saw a lot today, and it was very inspirational if I also take up some of those keywords. I would like to say the doors are open, I agree with you, but also, you know, aged people, and I can identify already with this group, can be open-minded and can try to be creative. I would like at this point really once again thank very much all the participants, the panelists. I would like to give a very special thanks also to Nicole Valcusa-Bergmann and the Forum Bois Construction who welcomed us to join in the program. Very special thanks. You can't see them, but you're so well connected worldwide with us because there's a great team just left side from us who are doing a fantastic job that we all look beautiful. We have no makeup, it's just their work, believe me. A very special thanks at this time to our communications acrobat, Kaisa Simula, who did a great job also on social media and who put you all in and out. Very, very special thanks for everyone. We keep connected. We are motivated with what we received. We will have a consultation process. We will keep you informed by our social media. You can find us on our webpage, www.woodcircus.eu. You can contact us. We will come out with a white paper 2040, I would say early in autumn around that, and you will learn more from us. And very special thanks wherever you're in Europe, worldwide. Bye-bye, and we keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yes, please turn your cameras on and we can wave. You're all beautiful.
Bye-bye.
Those who are still
Nice
with
to
us.
see you.
Bye. Thank you.